Hello, everybody. I am Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with our contributors Cordell Martin and Jeffrey Kare. We are here to talk about the latest episode of Dancing with the Stars, Halloween Night, and we are actually talking about it on Halloween night, October 31st, as we're recording this. So the episode was last night, Monday night. First, for starters, I would say the big headline after Halloween night was that double elimination. Which the contestants didn't know about, which from, it sounded like Tom Bergeron and Aaron Andrews didn't know about it. I'm not sure how much I buy that. And certainly it took everyone in the room by surprise, except whatever producers orchestrated it. Now, on one hand, it was understandable. There were a lot of contestants left, and there aren't that many weeks of competition left. It was kind of inevitable that there was going to be another double elimination night, but usually they don't blindside you with it. Like, oh, one person's going home. No, two people are going home. I thought that kind of sucker punch was a little mean-spirited, and it was, of course, Vanessa Lachey and Nikki Bella who ended up going home. Both of them were upper middle of the pack, actually, in their scores going into tonight. So, which tells us something very important about the dancers who scored under them last week, how much fan support they have. But for starting with just the spectacle of it, saying, to Vanessa and Nikki, one of you is safe and one of you will go. No, both of you are going. What did you think about that, Cordell?
To your point, I thought it was a little cruel. I would prefer if they wanted to make it a surprise to the contestants that they would have announced it at the beginning of the show. It's just like, hey guys, by the way, there's a double elimination tonight. And then also just kind of cheated Nikki and Vanessa out of, just saying their final goodbyes, since of course they were short on time. So just felt a little, cheap in my opinion.
Yeah. What did you think about it, Jeffrey?
Yeah, it was very surprising, and I'm sure Nikki and Vanessa were both wished that the wrong envelopes were handed out. I mean, granted, I thought they both at least did, solid jobs performing last night. I mean, I thought Nikki and Artem's routine was wonderfully energetic, and I thought Vanessa and Max's gave a very imaginative zombie dance.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I personally, if I were going to do the double elimination as a surprise, I would have at least, if you're going to hold it back and blindside them with it a touch earlier. Like say, okay, to these four couples who were in jeopardy, who were waiting for the final results, say, once they get the envelope saying, oh, this is a surprise, apparently there's going to be a double elimination tonight, instead of just getting to the last two and saying, nope, you're both gone. It would have still been cruel, but would have been like less of a kick to the teeth, a little bit at that last minute there. But what's interesting in terms of how the scores leveled out is they both, Nikki and Vanessa, both did very well on movie night. They got straight nines, I believe, both of them, tied for I think, fourth place on the leaderboard. They were ahead of Drew Scott, who was at the bottom of the leaderboard. Frankie Muniz, who is 1 point ahead of Drew Scott at the bottom of the leaderboard, and Victoria Arlen, who was tied with Frankie 1 point above Drew Scott at the bottom of the leaderboard. They were tightly bunched, low scorers, and they all got more viewer votes than not just Nikki, but Nikki and Vanessa in the middle of the pack. That's scary for everyone else in this competition. And it's scary because after the team dances, which we'll talk about in a minute, the way those kind of skewed the scores, Drew, Frankie, and Victoria are at the top of the leaderboard this week. So the other three contestants are now, they should be afraid because we know they have the fan support already, and now they have the scores to back it up. What did you think about finding that out about, those three contestants, how much fan support they have, Cordell?
Well, I know in our discussion last week, I mentioned to look out for Drew. I knew that he fits the demographic. Also, with just the harsh criticism from Lynn, a lot of his fans was going to rally behind him. Victoria is just the inspirational contestant of the year. Of the season. So she has her support, plus Val's a popular pro. So those two right there, you can't go wrong with that. And with Frankie Frankie is just that contestant that you want to root for, that you want to follow his journey. He reminds me like a Kelly Osbourne, Jack Osbourne. And so his growth and just how excited he is about the show really resonates with the viewer. With Nikki Bella, her issue was that she was always at the first half of the show. She never had that memorable performance or series of memorable performances to really stand out. And Vanessa, although she started off strong, I think once the incident with her and Max kind of took away, you know, her joy and excitement for the show, and it was just a little too late for her to really bounce back and get in favor with the viewers.
Yeah. What did you think about the strength of these relative contestants going forward, Jeffrey?
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, Frankie, who really seemed to have improved from last week. You know, I guess his underwhelming performance from last week must have gained a lot of sympathy from his fans that they really want to rally around him and keep him in the competition. And Victoria, of course, you know, again, she does have that that inspiring story arc, and not to mention that her performance last night with Val, their beginning seemed very Beetlejuice-like, and overall, I thought they both did a solid job.
Now, getting to the actual dances on Halloween night, I'll start with the very end, the team dances, which were kind of the main event dances of the night. Once the competition is down to 8 contestants, they split them up into teams of 4 couples on one team, 4 couples on the other. It started with Team Monster Mash, which was on paper the frontrunner team because it had all of last week's top scoring contestants. It had Jordan Fisher and Lindsey Stirling, which should be a slam dunk in any case. And it had Nikki Bella and it had Terrell Owens, who had shown really real growth the previous week. And then Team Phantom of the Opera or Phantom of the Ballroom had the supposed underdogs, which was Drew Scott, Frankie Muniz, Victoria Arlen, and Vanessa Lachey. So going into it, even the contestants were like, yeah, that other team is the ringers. We're kind of like, you know, we're the poor man's Team Monster Mash. It went completely the opposite way in a way that I don't necessarily agree with the extent of. I thought Phantom of the Ballroom gave a better performance. I don't think they were 6 points better. They scored a perfect score, Phantom of the Ballroom, 10s across the board for a total of 30 out of 30. Team Monster Mash got a lot of criticism for what's usually like a fun dance. Like even if the judges, it's not their favorite, they're usually like generous and kind. Even if they were like, "Oh, you were out of sync," and all this stuff was going on. I thought it was mostly in sync. I thought it was very clever choreography to highlight them individually and as a group. I thought they had great group chemistry. I would have given them 9s, but they got 8s for a total of 24. And when you add that to the individual dances, Team Monster Mash, including Lindsey Stirling and Terrell Owens and Jordan Fisher, who were remaining, Nikki Bella was eliminated, they ended up at the bottom of the leaderboard because that 6-point differential, you just couldn't make up for it because no one got lower than an 8 last night. Did you think those scores were fair? After now queuing that up, that no, it was terribly unfair. Do you agree with me entirely, Cordell?
I do. I felt that Team Monster Mash, I thought it was an entertaining performance. I thought it was very clever and creative with the whole corn maze, and I was entertained. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I thought everyone worked well as a team, and then their individual dance styles as well. So I would have given them a 9, but I feel like with Dance with the Stars, they try to create a little comeback narrative, especially for those who've been at the bottom. Just so that way it won't get boring that Lindsey or Jordan's always number 1 and 2.
What do you think about those 2 dances and those scores, Jeffrey?
Well, I thought Team Monster Mash, I mean, I thought that all of them did absolutely great work. Though, I mean, I will admit that Team Phantom of the Ballroom did a much better job. I mean, I thought they gave an amazing dance to the title song from Phantom of the Opera. I mean, whether or not they deserved the higher, well, I mean, they deserved a higher score, but, I mean, I guess, you know, maybe Monster Mash could have used a couple more points to, I guess, have them a little closer to Phantom, but, you know, they both at least did good jobs in their own right.
Yeah, and I must also say that I think Phantom of the Ballroom had the benefit of music. Yeah, the Phantom of the Opera is a much bigger, dramatic song to kind of support a big, dramatic group number. Monster Mash is a little quirkier and a little sillier, and it doesn't lend itself to that kind of dramatic heft, which I think also kind of a disadvantage to Team Monster Mash. But one interesting thing about Team Phantom of the Ballroom getting that perfect score was that you add it to the scores from the first round of the individual dances, and that put Frankie Muniz not only on top, but way on top. He was the only contestant who had a perfect night. 2 perfect dances, individual and team, 60 out of 60, 3 points ahead of the next best dancers who were both on his team. Let's talk about that first perfect score of his, that contemporary routine, which I should have seen it coming. Contemporary is the anti-samba, in that, when contestants get it, you can usually bet on their scores going way up, because it's very subjective and usually more driven by emotions than in specific flicks, kicks, those kinds of very specific nuanced steps. But I do think he deserved those perfect 10s. I thought it was outstanding and creepy, and I honestly hope that this show relaunches his acting career, because he's showing kind of a dramatic range on the dance floor that I didn't know he had in him. What did you think about that, Cordell?
Yeah, to your point, I thought it was by far maybe my favorite dance of his. I did like his Argentine tango during Disney night, but to your point, Frankie has just surprised and exceeded my expectations. He was one of the contestants that I originally wrote off that would be eliminated early, but I'm really rooting for him, and I'm hoping that he makes it to the finale, just so that way it completes his journey. He's really excited to be there, and it's just great to watch his growth.
What did you think about that dance, Jeffrey?
Well, yeah, like I said, I thought it was definitely an improvement from last week. And, Cordell definitely makes some great points about how, he really showed a lot of dramatic range. I mean, of course, this was Halloween night, so it makes sense to show some dramatic range. And, yeah, and of course, I guess also the story he and Whitney told in that routine also matched it. And, yeah, I think he's really, I guess, his score from this week really is making him more of a dark horse when it comes to the finals.
And what's interesting about Frankie is how well he's excelled in the kind of against type dances, the kind of sexy tangos, and now this really sinister contemporary routine. And last week, movie night, which you would have thought would have been a kind of cute, fun thing, which would have fit into, you think, the child star sitcom guy, was a complete bomb. So I feel like he needs to really stretch into those different weird creative directions every week. So like next week, this week Stalker, maybe next week Serial Killer or Cannibal, just anything just to really shake it up, because I feel like he's really, really good when he's going against type, because maybe it's a thing where he doesn't feel like he necessarily has gotten those opportunities as an actor, because he doesn't fit those types. So now he's getting a chance to do that for a minute and a half every week on the dance floor and kind of show that different side of himself. He should keep doing that. Avoid animation, lean away from trolls, lean into Silence of the Lambs. It's clearly the lesson here.
Yeah, I'd love to see him channel Anthony Hopkins.
I'm trying to think of what theme night would support that. Like maybe if they had, like, instead of just a movie night, like an Oscar night, then they would do the Silence of the Lambs dance, and Whitney would be a great Clarice, I'm sure. But speaking of pain, the weird transition, I'm trying to lean us towards Lindsey Stirling, as opposed to just playing out serial killers. She was actually dying up there. It felt like she injured her rib during dress rehearsals for her Argentine Tango for movie night, which, knowing that she had just injured her rib then, it's all the more astonishing the dance she pulled off then. She should have gotten 11s for that dance, given what I don't know how much pain she was in at the moment, and that built over the course of the week, but it did, and you could see in the clip packages for both her individual routine and the team dance that it was really, really, she was suffering from it. She had to go see the doctor. She wasn't sure she'd be able to compete at all. And you could see when she was done with her first dance of the night, which was a paso doble, which was the most demanding choreographic dance of the night, of any style of the night. Poor Lindsey, Mark just threw everything at her in that paso doble, and she executed it all. It wasn't quite as pristine because, but she hit every mark in a way. Like when I watched that performance over again, I didn't see like I was looking. It's like, oh, she was in real pain. That would have hurt. Oh, that should have hurt. Oh, that hurt. Every single moment. But she didn't show it in the movement, which is what Kare Ananaba said. And she only got 9s, which I think on the basis of the dance is fair. I think it was a straight 9s kind of dance. I think, degree of difficulty, I might have given her a bump. What did you think about that, Cordell?
Yeah, I give her props and kudos for just soldiering through that dance with that injury, because I would have fell out the first minute the song would have started in the dance. But I really hope that, next week for her dance, they give her something less strenuous and something that can help her ease, the pain with her injury, because I really don't want her to injure herself more and then having to drop out. So producers, please give her like a waltz or a cha-cha or something basic, just so that way.
What's the massage? Like, it should just be Mark massaging her, and that's the dance.
Do rumba and just do a couple of spins, and there you go.
Well, I don't know how those hip rolls might be with that rib, so.
That's right.
Yeah. What did you think about that performance, Jeffrey?
Well, I thought Lindsey and Mark both did terrific work this week, especially given Lindsey's circumstances. And, I guess Debbie Gibson should feel lucky she ended up getting eliminated early in the season, whereas who knows how much her health would have affected her performances had she made it through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the key is keeping Lindsey in the competition. She's next to bottom on the leaderboard, which means she is at risk of elimination. Like, it's not, she's not safe by any means. And we've seen Heather Morris's and other great contestants get eliminated before. So there's no reason to think that she's just short a spot. She's low enough that she's lower than Nikki and Vanessa were because of that group dance. Combined with that first dance, really put her low. She's under Drew Scott for crying out loud. No offense to Drew Scott, but I think even Drew Scott would be like, "Wow, I'm like 6 points ahead of Lindsey Stirling on the leaderboard. That's strange." But yeah, it's all about keeping her in the competition. I want her. I don't want her to take it easy necessarily, in the sense that like I feel like the judges will still like. They're not going to give her 10s for the most basic dance, but it might be better to get 9s again than to, collapse on the dance floor and have to withdraw. And the worst thing that could happen would be her withdrawal, because then it would be the Jordan Fisher show for the entire season. And I love Jordan Fisher, and he would be a deserving Mirror Ball winner champion. But I want to see some competition, and they push each other in such a fun and engaging way that there's actually a strong competition instead of just a race for second place. Now it's it's a real fight.
Well, unless Frankie ends up taking Lindsey's spot as the runner-up, or I guess Jordan's biggest competition.
Yeah, Frankie is one of the few other contestants who has actually gotten the top of the leaderboard, and he's done it twice. He's the only other one besides Lindsey or Jordan who's done it more than once. So yeah, he's poised. He's not as consistent. He's had some ups and downs. And Lindsey and Jordan haven't really had downs, even when one of them is broken, like just physically broken. So it'll be about whether Frankie can keep up that consistency, I think. And with that, let's start thinking about that elimination for next week. Who do we think is going home, or will they just eliminate 3 people and take us straight into the finals? What do you think is going to happen, Cordell?
Well, so next week is week 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say Terrell. It's his time to go. I can't think of anyone else leaving. I think they might put Jordan or Lindsey in jeopardy against Terrell just for the dramatic effect, but I think he's the one to go.
Yeah, what about you, Jeffrey?
Yeah, Terrell seems to fit that mold because while I thought he and Sherlberg had their high points in their performance last night, their routine overall was fine. Whereas, you know, like last week when we all thought it seemed like it was True Scott's time to go. I mean, he and Emma Slater gave a pretty clever routine last night. I especially liked how they both danced that song from Tim Burton's Corpse Bride. But yeah, it seems Terrell's a little more likely to get eliminated, especially after he came on top like a week or two ago.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Terrell also. It's hard to think of how he gets out of it mathematically, given how we know that Frankie, Drew, and Victoria have a lot of fan support that saved them from the bottom or near the bottom of the leaderboard this past week. And now they have the high scores, plus they have the fan support. And then the only other two people above him are Jordan Fisher and Lindsey Stirling, who, granted, they haven't been tested, you know, in terms of, you know, needing the fan support to survive, because they've had scores that have almost always been high enough that they were almost, you know, definitely going to be safe anyway. But they haven't been tested in that way. But even still, you got to think, you know, I don't see Terrell pulling more votes, especially with that tango, which was competent and decent, but it wasn't a showstopper. He wasn't fighting through pain and getting a lot of sympathy like Lindsey was, and he wasn't getting the perfect tens for that really dramatic werewolf routine like Jordan did. It's hard to see where he gets enough votes to surpass those two or the other three. So it's just by, you know, it would be unimaginable to me if he's not eliminated, just in terms of how this season has gone so far, who has the support, who performed what. It seems like he's the one to go. So of course it's going to be like Lindsey or something. But what else are you looking forward to next week, Cordell?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you guys. Next week, I believe, is trio night, and
that's right. Yeah,
with a former contestant on the show. They announced that Alfonso Rivera, Kelly Monaco, and Corbin Bleu are some of the celebrities. Do you guys have a former celebrity that you would like to appear? And if so, who would you like to pair them up with?
Oh, that's interesting. I've been keeping up with the show for at the beginning, so I'm really excited for Kelly Monaco because I didn't watch the All-Star season she was on, but I saw her first season on the show.
Did you watch her rematch with John O'Hurley?
I did. Yes, that was he won it, but like it didn't count officially. I don't even know why they did it. Like it was such a big deal. Like John O'Hurley should have won, and so they decided, okay, he wins now this rematch. That doesn't matter. It would be interesting if they bring him out for one of them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kelly Monaco. You know what? Kelly Monaco would be perfect because I think she danced with Val for the All-Star season. So those two with Victoria seems like it would be fun. Alfonso, I could see matching really, although it might not be fair. It might be stacking the deck a little bit too much with Jordan Fisher if they give him Alfonso. Or actually, Corbin Bleu actually fits in terms of their backgrounds are fairly similar, so that fits as well. But yeah, Cordell, you had some ideas about other people who haven't been announced officially yet, who you would like to see make it.
I would love to see Normani Corday come back and pair her with Jordan. Yeah, that would just be it for me. I also would love to see Maya. She was one of my favorite contestants. Or like Mel B. I think she would have been fun with Vanessa Lachey if Vanessa was still on the show. Yeah, and I think like Alfonso, I think I could see like a clever and fun routine between him, Whitney, and Frankie. So that would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah. Any other past contestants you'd like to see, Jeffrey?
Well, I think maybe if Nick and or Vanessa Lachey were still on, I mean, I could see they probably could have brought Drew Lachey on to dance with either one of them, though I wonder if they still might just bring Drew on to show Nick and Vanessa how it's done.
or they could have him come in for like secret revenge. So like he would get on a trio and he'd just like be sabotaging and tripping the team he's dancing with, just because it's like, you're not Nick and Vanessa. You shouldn't be here. that would be drama. That would be if fun drama. Actually, now that I think of it, I'm thinking about the pros that are left and who they might team them up with. Like Mark Ballas has had some really strong competitors in the past. You know, they could bring back Christy Yamaguchi for him or something. I think he was with Shawn Johnson when she won. You know, something like that would be interesting. Oh, it would be so fun to see Laurie Hernandez come back. That was another one Val had. So I'd love to see her return in any context. So it's interesting. I wonder if they're all going to be from like the upper echelons, like the three they introduced, or if there will be some from like, or if we could see a Heather Morris again. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I would love to see that. As long as it's not like a Bristol Palin or Bonner Bolton, I'm good.
Or David Ross. We saw David Ross this week.
yeah. Though I guess other celebrities that would make a good match, well, for trio. I mean, I guess there's the Carlos and Alexa Penavega. There's Donnie and Marie Osmond, or I guess I could, see them bringing well, more people. But I guess Sabrina Bryan maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If Nick and Vanessa had both survived, it would be so perfect to have the Penavegas, because then you would have like one member of each couple on each team. It would just be perfect.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Penavegas back. It's so interesting. There's so many to choose from. There's so many dancers I would love to see back on the show, like especially people who I thought were eliminated too soon in their respective seseasons. So that would be nice to see again. But I guess we will all have to wait and see and find out together. I don't know if they usually release a press release about what the dances are going to be for the following week, usually around Thursdays. But I don't know if that's something that they're going to want to withhold until the night to maybe surprise. We'll see what happens. So we will know this information either Monday night, or if it leaks out, or if they announce it officially later this week. So with that, I want to thank you, Cordell and Jeffrey, for joining me again this week. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you again next week.